Hello everybody, it's Wendy from the Indigo Blue team with a tag project for you today. This is hopefully something like what the finished piece is going to look like, and we're going to be using a variety of Indigo Blue products, including Giant Dragonfly and the Journal Phrases by Mike Deakin, and a few bits of ephemera and some inky sprays, and just generally getting a little bit messy. So I'll put that to one side and we'll make a start on what we're about to do. So I've gone ahead and cut out from watercolour card a large tag using the acrylic template, and I've used some True Grit texture paste through a stencil. The stencil I've used is called Tattered Harlequin, and here it is. So I've put some True Grit through there to give it a little bit of texture. So the next thing I'm going to do is to put my colour on, and I'm going to bring my splat box in for this because I'm going to spray and I don't want it to go everywhere. So I've got some Distress Oxide sprays. I've got Walnut Stain and Frayed Burlap, Old Paper and Salvaged Patina, and I'll just spray these until I get an effect that looks okay. And because they're oxide sprays, they've got a little ball bearing in the bottom, so we need to shake them up and just make sure all that chalkiness is well blended. So we'll see what we get. With oxide sprays you never really know, because they sort of, each one wants to be the boss and comes to the top. I might just give it a little mist of water to get it started. So let's go and see what happens. So that was Old Paper. This is Frayed Burlap, which is a sort of got bits of brown and blue and green in it. I'll give it a little bit of Salvage Patina. And some Walnut Stain. So grunge it a little bit. Okay, I'll lift that out of there. I'll put my splat box away, and that's looking not too bad. I'm going to dry it off. I might just spray that to make that move a little bit, and we'll give that a dry with the heat gun. So excuse the noise. And as this dries, the oxides will react with the water, but they'll also give you that chalky look to it, and each one will be sort of fighting to be top dog, to be the one that comes to the surface. Looking good. Don't really want those puddles down the side on this occasion. Sometimes I quite like that effect, but today I'll manage without them. You could do that with inks and do some blending, but the spray is a bit faster, or significantly faster. I'll get a little edge down there by the looks of things, but it's fine. It's mixed media and it's all good. want this to be really dry because my next step is to do some embossing, and I don't want the embossing powder to go absolutely everywhere. Look how the texture paste has picked up that colour. I love that. So even though when it goes on it's white, it does absorb the colour. Water to allow some of that other underneath layer to come through. See how the brown is now making its presence felt. As I said, I want this to be dry so that the embossing powder is limited to where I actually put the embossing ink and not to where there's water as well. I think we might be okay. Let's have a look. So there's our background, a lovely grungy, inky background. Love that. So for the embossing, just to add to the background, I'm going to use Collector's Edition number 2, really early Collector's Edition. It's French script, and I've got my arrow on the back to help me work out which way it needs to go. So I've got my acrylic block, and I'm going to emboss it with Versamark, sorry. And the embossing powder I'm going to use, I've dug this out. I've got a whole load of stuff. I'm sure you have as well. When you go to a show like at Doncaster or the NEC, you rummage around in the baskets to get a bargain. And I think this is one that I got in something like that. It's an Adirondack embossing powder. It's terracotta. So I thought that would go quite well with this, and it's about time I started using it really and got rid of it, I guess. So here's my French script stamp. Oh, that's not sticking on there very well. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue stick on there to secure it. It probably needs a good wash. So right way round, and it's going up here. And somewhere down here. And then in this opposite corner. So we'll try this terracotta. I didn't want really a metallic, although that would have been fine. I just wanted, oops, what a lump. Yeah, can you see that was a little bit There's something catching on there. I'll sort that out in a minute. Can you see the no, one thing at a time, Wendy. Let's put this away. Okay, can you see that's got a little bit of embossing powder on, but I don't mind that actually. I think that'll be okay. What I'm more worried about is this bit of fluff or something that's got on there. I don't know whether that's something that was in the powder or whether it's picked something up from my desk, and I'm not worried about wrecking the text precision of that, because that'll all just get melted in. Right, I'm going to leave that there and let it do its thing. So let's get my heat gun again and emboss that. So let's heat it up. Good. The next layer I'm going to put on is a bit of stenciling, and I'm going to use a distress crayon for this, which I've got up here somewhere. Here. And this one is called, this stencil is Bubble Wrap, which is a great sort of distressed circles, if you like. So the first one was the Tattered Harlequin, and now we've got distressed, Bubble Wrap it's called. So I'm going to go through this with my distress crayon and give it some, it'll probably give me some little raised areas as well. I'm going to pop some water on my mat just to pop my finger in to help blend it. See, that's got a little bit of a raised texture to it because of the texture of the distress crayon, and I really like that. So we'll come up here. Distress crayons, I think, are one of those mediums. You either love them or loathe them. They take a while to get the hang of them. If you don't use them, you kind of think, oh, what's the point of them? But just adding a little bit of water to help them to blend makes all the difference. And we're coming down here for our third part. You could do this with paint or even gesso with some colour added to it if you wanted to, but I wanted it to be a little bit subtle. And this is antique linen, so it's just that really pale beigey colour. Some water on my finger and just rub that around. A bit more maybe. finger's not really wet, it's just damp, like you might have wiped it on a baby wipe or something just to dampen it. There we are. So that's what we've got so far. So far, so good. And that's pretty much the background sorted. So I'm going to put those stencils away. That French script stamp can go away. I will just give that a spray and get all that inky, sticky Versamark off it before it goes back in the box. Right, the next thing is to sort out what the focal point is going to be, and I hunted around and found some bits of ephemera. I already said that the main part was going to be this giant dragonfly, so I've stamped and heat embossed, stamped it with the usual VersaFine Clair in Nocturne and cut it out. As I'm getting ready to paint it in a little while, I will just try and trim those antennae a little bit more, but I'm going to paint it with Luscious, and the black Luscious will do a good job of filling in that space. I didn't want to cut it out too early, because if it was on my desk while I was waiting and getting all my things ready, chances are I'd catch it on something and rip the antenna off completely, which wouldn't be great. So I'm just going to get in there a little bit more. If it falls off, I can always just stick it back in place. I'm going to leave it at that, because as I said, can't leave it alone, can I? One breath I'm saying I'm going to leave it alone, and then I'm going in again to get a bit closer. There we are. And the Luscious that I'm going to paint it with will cover up those bits. Right, so let's get the Luscious out so that once that's painted it can be drying. So I'll put that to one side and get my Luscious out. So I'm going to use, I think on the wings I used on the last one, a mixture of Sparkling Waterfall and Bottled Sunshine. So that's the plan. So we'll open up the palette, give it a spray with some water. And find a brush that's usable. Okay, here we go. I think I've got one that I can use for the yellow. I'm just going to as well paint a little bit of water on the wings so that when the Luscious hits it, it will help it to spread. So we'll start at this side. And put some of that Luscious through the middle. You just need to be a little bit careful with Luscious, because it does cover up the black lines if you paint it on too thickly. That's great, and we'll go in with the Bottled Sunshine, this lovely yellow edge to the wings. Lovely pearlescent sheen that Luscious gives it. And then we're going to do the same at the other side. So we'll come in with some water first. There's the yellow around the edge. and the blue. Okay, and then finally I'm going to do the body, oops, and those antennae in Blackbird. So a little bit of water on there. Mix it to a good consistency. And that'll cover that white space nicely. So there we've got our painted dragonfly ready to go on in a little while when that's dry. So while that's drying, I want to bring in my ephemera, and I've got a tag, an old tag. This might be from a packet of Tim Holtz ones, but any old tag will do, sort of, you know, when you get off some shopping or anything really. But this is, I like this, it's got the sort of ledger type thing on it. It's even got a perforation on it if you wanted to perforate it, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pop that on there. I've got some old script that I've ripped again with the tearing ruler, which I've got out somewhere. Yeah, here it is. So the tearing ruler, so I've torn that, and that's going to go in the middle there before the dragonfly goes on. And a little bit of tape, just paper stuff, as I say, any old ephemera, which I'm going to pop on there. I've also got a sentiment that comes from Mike's Journal Phrases one. I think I've mentioned before, I cut off the top of the stamp set so that I can fit it in one of the storage systems that I've got, rather than bend it over because it doesn't work. So I've got this one, Make It Happen. I used on the last one, this one, Dream Big Dreams, but they all come from the same set. And what I do is I stamp out the whole lot at a time and cut them so that I've got them in my bag ready to go. So I'm just going to add a little bit of colour to some of these and ink the edges of the tags. So this one, Make It Happen, I'm just going to, I've probably got enough ink on my blender just to go over that. Yeah, loads of ink. And these I'm going to just ink the edges so that they're, where they've torn, we haven't got that white edge showing. Just finishes it off. That's that one. And this one as well. See, I haven't even put any ink on this, I'm just using what's already on the sponge. But I may well put a little bit more ink on this because it's a bit bright. So I might knock it back a bit. That's better. And now I will just take a little bit of ink and do those edges a little bit more to get more definition. we are. So with some grab and go, we'll pop this on. Oh, nice bit of ephemera on the top. Check I've got it the right way around. Let's go in there, kind of in the middle. And I'm going to put this at the bottom. Stick it on and then trim either end. We are. It's going up the bottom here. That looks a bit wonky to me. It's thinner at this end than it is at that end, or is it just me? Might just sliver. It's not a good idea, really. Bigger Tim Hortons scissors out. They feel a bit safer and a bit more controlled for doing this. You notice how I'm keeping my hand actually on the table so that that hand is quite steady. That's better. I'm not sure it is, to be honest. That will have to be better. Yeah, that'll do. And that's going on with some grab and glow. Grab and glow. There's got to be a market for some glow in the dark glue, hasn't there? We all keep saying grab and glow. That's popping on there. And I want some tape, some foam for my dragonfly, which I want just to be slightly raised up. So I'll put a piece across its wings. And then some extra pieces. It's easier to cut your double-sided tape while it's still actually on the roll. These scissors tend not to get too mangled up in it. There we are. Just cut those bits in half. And then I want a tiny slivery bit for down its body. Let's see how thin I can go. Alright, it's a good old pokey tool to pull the bits off. And this can go in position. I'm just going to push that away a bit so it's not showing too much. Put him at a slight angle. And I'm going to add a few splatters with a little bit of black gesso. So it's just a little bit going on my mat to the side. A little spray of water to loosen it. And then a few splats. Leave those splats a minute to dry, and while that's happening, I'll just clean that black gesso off. The lid's on, and then all that's left to do is pop on some sari ribbon. Can go through there. And I really do need to leave that to dry because I can see where I've touched it. I've got more of a meteor than a splat, so I might just give that a little blast just to dry those. I don't want to push them around there. And then I'm just going to attach a bulb pin with a little charm on the end through that ribbon, just to finish it. Pop it through there. And there we have it, a mixed media tag, some stenciling with True Grit, some inky spray background, a few bits of ephemera, and the giant dragonfly stamp with Luscious, and Mike's journal phrases for the sentiment. There we are. You can see the shine on the Luscious. Hope you like that, quick and easy, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.